Yo, 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 happy Halloween. Anthony and I finally getting a show going here on a Thursday night. Had a cold, had some people stop in, went trick-or-treating earlier,
Yep.
and then
And
we
the
had technical difficulties. So it's
the
just,
ghosts of Halloween haunting our
yes,
computers here.
which we haven't had technical difficulties in a long time.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that was weird. That was
That
really weird.
was.
Well, it happens.
So anyway, yeah. Anthony, what's the costume anyway? I can't really see.
Yeah, so I'm missing half of it, right? My little spiral at the top and my googly eyes that I had for the costume. I'll post a picture on Twitter for those of you who are like, why is he dressed like that? But my family did Inside Out. So I was Fear from Inside Out, and
Gotcha.
Kathy was sadness, and Logan was anger. He wanted to be anger. That's why we did this. And Emma was joy. So yeah, we had the four characters. We did some trunk or treats today, and then went around some neighborhoods. But Logan's first time actually trick or treating, which was fun.
Awesome.
And then yeah, just went to my mom's house for a bit, and then came home, and he's exhausted, as you can imagine. So yeah, I'm exhausted, so he's definitely exhausted. Yeah, but fun. Halloween's my favorite holiday. We go all out. We had a different costume on for the weekend. Last weekend I was King Viserys Targaryen, and Kathy
Oh,
was the
nice.
queen. Logan was the king's guard, the knight, and Emma was the dragon. So it was fun. Yeah, we had a great time this year, as always, for Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Go
always
all
go
out.
all out.
Hence the
Yeah.
purple. Yeah, right. And the eyebrows still glued
Right.
on my face. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm more boring, I'd say, or traditional. I usually buy like 3 costumes and rotate for 10 years. I have a cowboy costume, then like Jack Skeleton.
Oh, that's always a great. Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah, and then like a Frankenstein or you
There you
know.
go. Easy.
So, I used to have a Dale Earnhardt Jr. I wore that one a lot. Just cuz it's simple, easy, gets the point across, so yeah, but definitely you go all out. Every year you have like an amazing costume, so it's
Oh
always
yeah, I
fun to
mean you
pick out.
gotta have. Yeah, I mean that's again. This is my holiday. My whole year, I love Halloween, so everything focuses on Halloween for us. And Logan actually loves Halloween on his own. He loves everything about it too. The decorations, the trick or treating. Obviously, he's not that big into candy actually, but he loves Halloween. So I'm excited that he loves it on his own, in addition to me loving it. So not that it was an option for him. We do the group costumes every year from now until he's 18, probably. So
Well, I appreciate you explaining that because when I first saw you, I was like, "Are you a hungover frat guy?"
yeah,
Kinda what it looks like. It looks like you were up until
purple.
6 a.m.,
Yeah,
you know?
with the bow tie and the
Yeah, had an all-nighter.
with the vest. Yeah,
Yeah.
a
So, yeah, we haven't
professor
done a
who went out
show.
party. Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. We haven't done a show this late in a long time, but it's good to see, Lance still awake, still hanging in there.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
got
somebody's saying we don't have volume on Facebook. I assume Lance can hear us if he's there, but maybe we should
no
just
sound on Facebook. We have
that
been
would
having
be weird.
technical difficulties, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
We
go ahead
can
and
hear
check
each
that.
other, so I'm not sure if somebody else wants to
Sandra.
let us know if they can hear us. That would be great. But we'll continue to go on anyway because it is recorded, so we can at least post at a later date if needed.
Alright. Yeah, we'll keep
I'm
updated on
gonna
that,
check
but
it here. Yeah, I'll check it out here in a second. But
alright. Yeah, we'll get
I'll
it
mute
figured out.
myself. Yeah, I'll mute
But,
myself for a
anyway, it's actually a good week to have technical difficulties because 'cause we're playing the Miami Dolphins, and there's really not a lot of conversation to have about the Dolphins anymore, right? We've had all these, "Hey, is Tua gonna beat the Bills at some point?" Tyreek Hill's scary, right? Uh, Mike McDaniel, great play caller, you know? It seems like last year, the Dolphins had a ton of momentum. I think they should have won the division, really. In the position they were in, it was basically all there for them. And then you look at this year, it's more like really not a threat anymore, right? And the big conversation was they're soft last year, couldn't beat the good teams, right? And that seems to have carried over to this year where quarterback goes down. Obviously, that's going to set you back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Defense not as good, right? and they just seem out of sync this year. So I like to say they're a soft team. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. Like McDaniel, likable guy. He's your buddy, right? But I feel like as a head coach, you don't really want your buddy to be the head coach. That
Yes.
like for me. Like I'm all for it. Love the guy. Wish him the best. But I just don't think it works on the competitive level of the NFL. It's like the best of the best. You know what I
You're
mean?
right. Yeah, I mean, you contrast that to like a Sean McDermott, who is a, you know, get the job done type of guy versus a let's all hang out in kumbaya. Not that the Bills don't do bonding things or whatever, but just that from a standpoint of coaching, McDermott and McDaniels are two totally different guys, right? So, and McDermott has shown, the way he has prepared this team, it has been next guy up, fill it in, get it going, everything still works. And God forbid, even if Josh Allen went down, we know that this defense is built for real and that the defense would still do its job, right? So you could still win games, to your point, with the defense alone because that's how this team is built. But in Miami, it seems like, Tua went down and then he just the whole entire team broke down because it was like you lost the locker room, right? And that's not going to happen on a Sean McDermott led team. So I know McDermott gets a lot of flack from even Bills fans, but really the league doesn't get enough respect for what he can do or what he's done as a head coach and what he's proven to be as a head coach.
Yeah.
Ridiculously consistent versus somebody like McDaniels who get all the praise of being the next big coach and the next thing. And, oh yeah, look at how quirky he is and everything. But that doesn't work when, you rubber face the road and it's time to frickin' get in gear and get stuff done, when it gets harder. It's easy when everything's clicking, but when it's not, then you have to get going. And again,
Right.
the Bills have dealt with that adversity, losing their best players on defense again
sure.
and again and again and again, and still not missing a beat, which is
Right.
impressive.
Right. I think every offseason, we talk about it like, oh, Bills don't look that good this offseason, right?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then
they're going to be starting Taylor Rapp
yeah,
and Hamlin. It doesn't seem like that's going to work, right? Hopefully, Mike Edwards can get up to speed, right? It's kind of been the conversations. The receiving group doesn't look as good, you know what I mean? But McDermott always comes through, right? And I think that is a credit to McDermott. Obviously, Josh Allen's leadership. Obviously, there's other pieces in the organization, but really, I think Sean McDermott's a hell of a motivator and a hell of a coach, right? And he just
exactly.
proves himself over and over again. And I
Exactly.
think,
When you're
yeah,
talking about somebody who gets the most out of guys, I mean, Sean McDermott is that in spades, right? I mean, he just absolutely makes people the best versions of themselves on the field, and knows how to put them in the position to get the most out of them, right? And that's part of coaching. That is coaching.
right.
So, yeah, at that part of it, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, we had what? We have University of Buffalo players making plays every week.
3 of them,
You know what I
right?
mean?
Yeah, I mean, come
That's
on.
impressive coaching. It
Yeah,
really
yeah.
is. So, but I think we're last point on Sean McDermott, but also I think we're close to it as Bills fans. So you get frustrated at times because you're paying attention to every
Right.
single detail. But like if you're a Bills fan looking at the Baltimore Ravens, nobody thinks they should fire John Harbaugh.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But if I've heard Ravens fans talk about that before, but I mean, outside looking in, the guy's a hell of a coach. They're competitive every year. They draft well most years, right?
Mhm,
They
mhm.
they do a good job as well. So it's like I feel like if we weren't so close to it, you would appreciate McDermott as a coach way more. You know what I mean?
I would hope so. Yeah. I mean, that's it's part of it. You see, because he obviously has things that we critique him for legitimately too. So, that is a problem in itself as well. But he's way there's way more good when it comes to Sean McDermott than there is criticism and bad. And that is shown in the results, right? Through the adversity, with or without adversity, the guy has consistently won and got it done and, put this team in a position to win. And then, there's the boneheaded mistakes and things, but there's still more good that outweighs the bad.
Yeah, and I think the other AFC East teams, maybe outside the Patriots, who've had recent success, like maybe not last few years, but like the banners are in the stadium. You know what I mean? They're not really. They know they have to go through a transition period to get a new coach, so I don't think they're
Mhm.
urgently searching for the guy, right? But I
Mhm.
feel like Miami's definitely they thought Mike McDaniel's the guy. Jets obviously, can't get out of their own way with that, but I mean, I'm losing faith in Mike McDaniel. I'll,
Mhm.
because I mean, not winning last year against a playoff team or a team with a winning record,
Ever.
right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, the offense has been absolutely horrible this year. I mean, I got it. Tua, your starting quarterback goes down, and that's extremely difficult to overcome. But like, if you're a, you know, genius play caller like everyone thinks Mike McDaniel is, and you have a Tyreek Hill and you have all these weapons, like you think you'd have a little more offensive production than what they've had this season.
Agreed. I mean, and that's with or without Tua. I mean, yes, you've put in a number of backups, but those two guys are stars, right? They should be easy to get the ball to, especially when you're supposed to be this mastermind of drawing up plays, and it hasn't worked out that way. And coming into Buffalo now, this does feel like their last gasp, right? They must win this game or their entire season is over. Let's face it. They're not going anywhere, right? The AFC is wide open playoff wise. I think the 7th seed right now is 4-5 or maybe 5-4, but
Right,
still it's really close at the bottom of the AFC there for that 7th seed. And we've
right.
talked about this
Yeah,
before during the season, but it's competitive. But Miami, I mean, if they lose this game, they're going to be sellers at the deadline and like
right.
saying,
It's a
okay,
rebuild.
mail it in. And then what do you do with Tua? You let him keep playing? Do you bench him and let him rest and see what happens going forward? I mean, there's a lot of questions there. But they just extended their coach McDaniels for what? Like the same contract that Tua got, I think, 7
Right.
years or something. So I mean, we'll see. We'll
We'll
see. I
see.
mean, Miami is they're in
They're
a tough spot right now because their
mhm.
expectations were high and now they're rock bottom. I mean, you contrast that to the Jets, who have never shown anything, right? And were crowned this offseason for never doing anything. And I consistently said that team sucks. That team sucks. They've done nothing. Aaron Rodgers is an old man who's done nothing. And we've saw that over the last couple of weeks. We'll get to our picks and analysis later. We could talk about the Jets. But my point being, Miami, I never said that about, right? Miami is a good roster. They have a very good team. I was way more afraid of them than I was the Jets because, thinking about their offense. But again, just the way those matchups go. And when I say afraid, I'm not very afraid of them. In almost every prediction I did, no, I think every single one, I did not have the Bills losing a division game. Why? Because I just couldn't stomach saying that we were going to lose to the Jets or the Miami, knowing that the Bills are so much better than those two teams on both sides of the ball, right? You could give Miami's offense the edge coming into this season because yeah, they were elite and had all these weapons versus the Bills not having weapons and being unsure. But the defense, Miami's defense has had holes since the offseason. We all knew, look, we got a new coach. They got nobody on the defensive line. They can't get pressure on the QB. Their cornerbacks are aging and are injured. There was just so many questions around that Miami defense. And it's exactly what came to fruition. That defense has been a liability. The offense we talked about, injuries and losing the team, that is, it's all worked out well for Buffalo. But yeah, Miami has a lot of questions to ask themselves and is going to have that long look in the mirror for the rest of this season to say, how do we change this? Where do we go from here? Do we keep that core intact? If so, are we just going to be, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, and not getting different results? So we'll see what Miami does. But it's the emotion, the um, worry, the fear, if you will, coming into the game, this matchup is nowhere near as it was in week 2. Not even close, right? So it's
Right.
it's crazy that it's come that far in so few weeks.
Yeah, and maybe it should be, right? Miami really hasn't scored a lot of points first 5 weeks. I mean, 20 on Jacksonville week 1. Outside of that, it's 15 points or less in every game.
Yeah.
right? They hit their bye week 6, and then, Indianapolis, they score 10 points, but now Tua's back, right? There's a little more excitement. 27 points versus Arizona. They lose by 1 point. But if you're trying to save the season, if you're Miami and you're trying to save the season, you can really spark the team, the locker room, the fan base if you beat Buffalo in Buffalo, right? That's got to be their mentality, because if you go 2 and
Oh
7,
yeah. Yeah.
or there'll be 2 and 6. I mean, the season's over. You know what I mean? This feels like a big game if you're looking at it from the Miami
But one of
perspective.
my
Now,
favorite stats coming into this is Miami hasn't won in Buffalo since 2016.
right,
And this is not, again, we've talked about the matchups being favorable and like, oh, it's a close matchup, but the Bills end up getting the edge because they're at home or whatever. This doesn't feel like that. This is the first matchup with Miami in a while where it's like we're gonna blow them out.
right,
We're gonna dominate. Like
yeah,
they know it.
yeah. And
They
I
know
think
it, and we know it, which
if you're
is
looking
just
at it from the Bills'
wild.
perspective, like,
Yeah.
okay, this team's better than we thought it was going to be, and they proved it last week. It was probably their best game of the year,
Mm-hmm.
right? Going to Seattle in the rain,
100%.
putting up
Yes.
31. I mean, Keon Coleman's looking like a real receiver here in
Oh.
week 9, week 8.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Amari Cooper, it doesn't get a lot of production yet. That will come, but definitely something the defense needs to pay attention to, which is opening up the tight ends. So I think if you're a Bills fan, you're overlooking this game a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes, and you can't, I mean, and the good thing is we know that McDermott and the team are not, because they still hate Miami. There's a rivalry there still.
Right.
They know that this is a huge game for the division and everything, and they're very aware that Miami's lives are on the line and they're going to be
Yeah.
fighting for
Well, and
everything.
and my thing with Miami, like, if you're coming into Buffalo and you think you're going to win, you got to do something different, right? McDermott has Tua's number. He knows you get in those slant passing lanes, right?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know he's going to try to fit it, in the cover 2 scenario, like in the pockets. It's always the same pockets with him. It's difficult for Tua to throw it to the outside, right? And, you don't really have to worry about the deep threat if everything's in front of you. And I think that disrupts, you know, it disrupts Tua's timing. You know what I mean? Um, and I think the Bills really focus on getting pressure on Tua as well every time
Mhm.
they play, because if he's not a real mobile guy, so if you can get pressure on him and make him get rid of the ball faster, it takes Tyreek Hill's abilities out of the game. You know what I mean? So if I'm Miami, you got to do something different, because like it's been the same type of plays for at
Well,
least
the
the
one
last
thing
4
that
games.
they could potentially do different is run the ball. I was at that Miami game and I
Yeah.
kept looking around at the crowd going, "You guys know you have 2 really good running backs and we, are sketchy against the run, right? Like you can run a lot more than you can pass." And they passed it like 80% of the time that game, and I was just blown away at the play calling, right? And if I'm Miami, I do think that's one way that they could decide to go differently, right? Run it 70% of the time instead of passing and then
Hmm.
see what happens. The problem is you still have to get the run game going. The Bills have been pretty good about bending but not breaking, right? Giving up a big run a game. We've talked about this in the past too, but and then maybe 3-4 yards a carry, but enough to shut them down on third down and make the team punt, right? So consistently doing that is going to be difficult, but as long as you bend but don't break, you're going to be okay in a game like this, because I think you could give up 26 points to Miami and be okay because you're going to score 41, So I really do think that the Bills are going to score at will in this game because the defense of Miami can't stop us. They just can't. They can't get pressure. They can't, stop us in coverage. The run game's going to get going. The pass game's going to be efficient. I mean, it's just so how do they counter that? They have to score 41 points. I don't think they could do that even if they're playing at their best against a Buffalo defense. This Buffalo defense. So and there's injuries that we aren't sure about who's playing, Terrell Bernard especially being that captain of the defense, but the Bills have looked phenomenal even with him out of the lineup against some teams. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and really, you look at Miami's stats. I mean, I know they had a bye week, but 29th in the league in red zone percentage, 32nd in points for in the league. I mean, this seems like the week it's got to happen for them, right?
Yeah, they got to get it done.
So,
but I don't think they can. I mean, I think again, when you talk about back to the control of the team, right? Miami knows in their hearts they have to get this game, but they also know that they can't win it. And I don't think they have motivation to believe we can get it done in this building. They come in knowing they're going to lose the game, and that is not a good place to be mentally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what else we got? What else we got for Miami?
I mean, it's the same old, right? They bad against their pass rush has been injured and non-existent basically, and our offensive line has been extremely strong. So that I think is one key to the game right there. Both in the run and the pass, or the pass rush, protecting Josh Allen. So
and I feel like Tyreek Hill's been pretty quiet this year.
He has been, and it's statistically against the Bills. I think he averages like 40 yards or something against the Bills. So I mean, I don't know what the answer is, especially with our cornerbacks playing as such an elite level right now. If you're Miami, again, I think the strategy is hope Buffalo covers the pass with Tyreek and Waddle, and then run the ball all day and get something going that way.
Let's see. Tyreek Hill, he hasn't had a 100-yard game since week 1 at Jacksonville. Versus Jacksonville. Let's see. 72 yards last week. Pretty good. He hasn't had a touchdown since week 1.
Wow. Yeah. So very quiet season for Tyreek.
Right. And that's
Fantasy
definitely
owners
a quarterback. That's definitely a quarterback play, right? Tua's back now. Tua's got another game under his belt. I think Tyreek will get some pretty good stats this week.
I don't know. He doesn't play well. Buffalo was pretty good at shutting him down. So, I mean, I don't know if you got the stat machine up that you can look up his stats against the Bills, but even when he was with Kansas City, I think there was maybe one big game in there, but not consistently, and certainly not, with Miami. Even when he was putting up the last season, when he was, putting up 1,000 yards in 4 weeks or whatever. Yeah. I still, I trust our cornerbacks to play at the elite level that they are.
Okay, here we go.
There.
Yeah, he's never had a 100-yard game versus Buffalo. And that even goes back to the Kansas City days.
Never.
There
you go. That's what I thought it was.
13 targets, 7 receptions. That was the basically the late game last year.
Yeah.
In January
and that's still 50%, for the division. I mean,
right.
Nearly 50%.
Had a touchdown in that game. But yeah, they've done a good job of containing Tyreek Hill, and I think that's really hard to do, And then, allowing 82 yards for Tyreek Hill is a pretty good day,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you'd sign up for that at the beginning of the game. No touchdown, 82 yards. Yeah. And I still, again, even if they break away a touchdown, the first drive, big touchdown for Tyreek Hill, it's not going to take the wind out of the Bills' sails. The Bills are just going to come back on offense and probably score their own touchdown, right? And go blow for blow. And then again, I don't know that Miami can keep up with that pace once the Bills get going. So the trust for me is lacking in the potential of the defense. The high potential of the Miami defense is not very high to me, which is why, I think the edge favors the Bills. The only other thing we didn't talk about was Tua's injury, right? Obviously coming back, and I happened to attend both of the games where Tua got hurt against the Bills. And it's scary stuff. You never want to see that. And you can't put yourself in his shoes, but that the Bills defense isn't going to be like, oh, well, we're only going to, tap you on the shoulder.
Right.
No, they're coming after him.
Well, he's a slide, Yeah.
Well, not even, I'm just talking about sacking him, right? Maybe you get
And
pressuring
it
you.
is different, right? Like, yeah, you definitely don't. There's something different about Tua when he hits his head, right? I think we've talked about this to
Scary.
exhaustion, but like, it's different. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? I don't know if it's the way you fall. Maybe you got to work on that. I feel like last year didn't really have this problem. Year before, obviously did. But I mean, we see Josh Allen he slams his head on the ground. And he seems fine.
Yeah. Well, that one game where everybody thought he had the concussion and
I mean, you
the
see at least
independent
once a
neurologist
week.
said no. Yeah, it's
At least once a week.
it's I don't know if it's a individual body thing or a somehow a weakness in the spinal area of certain people or something. But Tua, you're right that when he gets hit, I mean, look at the Damar Hamlin thing. He ran into Damar, and
Right, right.
that's where that big injury came from this year. But we want him to stay healthy, but he's going to be vulnerable out there. And the question that we don't know is if he hears footsteps because of that, right? If he's going to worry about getting the ball out or sliding or whatever and missing potential plays because he's thinking about that
Hmm.
in his own head. So
Right.
against the Bills, I
Yeah, we
mean, the
wish
Bills
him
are
the
getting
best. I
Von
mean,
Miller back, which is, he's impactful. He's been impactful
right.
late in games, but one play a game, he's not going to be playing a ton of snaps. Maybe he'll come back motivated because of the suspension. But still, even without him, Solomon had a big play last week. He looked good. And obviously, you got your starters. Well, I shouldn't say starters because Smoot has been starting and Epinesa has looked great as the next guy
Right.
coming in, which has been weird, but totally true. So keep doing that because it's working. And then obviously Greg Rousseau,
Right.
being a beast.
Yeah. No, Greg Rousseau's really good at setting the edge. Especially that versus Miami with the off tackle run style they have.
Exactly.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
just want a quick exercise and then we'll get into our picks. But what would it take for Miami to get back in the playoff or the division race?
Division race.
Division. They're down what? Two and a
6
half
games.
games? Well, they're 2-5. Bills are 6-2.
That's 4 games. You mean if they win it?
Yeah, like, what's it going to take for them to win it? I mean, because look,
Well, even if
if
they
Miami
beat the
can,
Bills this week,
they got to beat the Bills. That's
they're
obvious,
still down in the division by 3 full games.
right? So that's a big swing though, because Bills lose one, Miami gains one, right? So then I think Miami would be 2.5 games behind the Bills, even if they beat them.
No, 3.5, right?
No,
Because
if they
right now
beat the
it's
Bills though. Right now they're 2-5. Bills are 6-2. So if Miami beats the Bills, they would be 3-5. The Bills would be 6-3. But then the half would go to
right,
head to
right. So
head. They'd
two and a
split. So
half.
it'd go to the division, right? So
You're right.
we'll say 2.5.
Yes. Okay.
Then the Dolphins have the Rams, Raiders, Patriots after that. All winnable games.
Sure.
Rams probably the toughest of the group, but those are winnable games for
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
If we look at Buffalo, Indianapolis, Kansas City, bye week, you lose a game in the bye week because, right, you don't
Half a
gain a
game.
win,
Half
right?
a
So if
game.
Miami
Yeah, yeah.
wins that week
They
and
gain the
Buffalo
half
doesn't
back.
play, they gain the half, right? Then Buffalo has the 49ers. I mean, okay, after that, Rams, Lions are in there, and then Patriots twice and Jets. So
Yeah,
that's,
that's the problem. The Bills
but
end the season on a softie, and what does Miami have for their last 3 games?
what I guess so we went through the Patriots. They have week 13, Green Bay, Jets at Texans, 49ers, Browns, Jets.
So Texans, 49ers, Browns, Jets will give them, but Texans, 49ers probably not, right? So I mean, they need everything to work out in their favor to get
Right.
back in the division race. And again, showing no heart to this point, I have no faith that they're going to, walk over a team like the Rams or even,
Right.
the Raiders if they play well.
So if we
So
say the next 3 games let's say the next 4 games Miami wins, that would be 6-5. And the Bills would be, if they lose to
we
Miami,
already have 6
I think
games.
they're going to beat the Colts, right? But they could lose to the Chiefs, 49ers.
Sure.
So they could be 7-4. So then Miami's a game back. The bye weekend there eliminates the half. They'd be a game back.
Yeah.
That's what it would take. I mean,
But
obviously,
even then, you're banking on the Bills losing to New
Kansas
England
City
yeah.
and the
No,
49ers.
no, I meant after that. You're
Oh,
still
right.
banking on the
I'm
Bills
just saying
losing
next 4
to
weeks. Right.
New England or, the Jets.
Right.
And
Jets, right.
that's not going to happen.
Right. Crazier things have happened, but Miami they need to beat Buffalo, and then we can even start having that conversation. But if you lose to Buffalo, it's over, as far as the getting back in the divisional race.
Yeah. I mean, even then, yeah. What's the wild card right now? How far are they back in the wild card? That's a better question. The 7 seed in the AFC, I think, who is it? Is it Indy right now? Is it
Are those even
4
out
and
yet?
5? You should be able to find. I mean, yes. Let's go to ESPN standings. They should have it because, yeah, I think
way too early to talk about this. But.
Yeah, that gets more interesting. But the point is they're way out of it, right? Like that's
right.
You need so much to happen that it's
right.
It's not.
And if you ask me right now, the wild cards aren't coming out of the AFC East this year.
Definitely not.
The Bills will win,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem like we're gonna have a wild card out of the. It's gonna be 3 teams from the AFC North again. That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chargers would be the 7 seed. Colts would be the 8 seed.
Chargers are right now, yeah, because they're 5 and 4. Yeah.
Right. It's funny. Steelers winning the AFC North right now. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, well, the Steelers have a weird schedule this year because every single one of their division games is at the end of the year. So it's like they could have been 10-0, and they'd still not know their fate in the division. So yeah, it's interesting how that schedule worked out. It's been over.
It's been over. Yeah.
Since week 2 when we kicked your ass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, probably right. But you got to have some kind of topic, right, for the show.
That's true. That's true.
Fun exercise.
And again, you can't just write them off. They're still a competitive team. But
sure,
we could talk final score. I really think the Bills put up 40. I'm saying 41 to 23.
But okay, of the teams in the AFC East, who has the better chance to get back into the hunt for the division?
Nobody.
The Jets or Miami?
It's a race to 4 wins. I don't give a shit. I don't care. It's a race to 4 wins. So
I really
we finished second in the division.
And let's go into our picks because this is my next point. All right, okay, zoom in a little more here.
We were just talking about this first game, the Thursday night game, the Houston Texans at playing the Jets, and I am all over the Houston Texans because even without Diggs, Diggs getting that terrible news of the ACL, the Jets are going to jet, man. They suck. Aaron Rodgers sucks. Oh, we got Davante Adams back. We're going to win a game. No, you're not. Oh, we got Hassan Reddick back. Now we're going to win a game. No, you're not. You're going to lose to the Patriots. The Jets are an absolute dumpster fire. And I said that in the preseason when nobody wanted to hear it. Okay? Even you, Eric, have picked them to win multiple games where I'm like,
I don't think that's crazy, though. Look, you look at the Jets roster, they should be a good team. And I think that's where everyone.
They should be. That's the whole point. They're not.
Exactly. But they're not. Right. But I didn't think they'd fire the coach week 5. You know what I mean? That really disrupted things.
Since they fired the coach, they've gotten Davante Adams and Hassan Reddick, and they still suck. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's the freaking problem. How many times do you have to do things wrong to know that? I said it way back before they signed him, before the Jets got, and we're on the record here on this. I said I wanted Aaron Rodgers to go to the Jets. I wanted Aaron Rodgers to sign with the Jets. Why? Because he's washed up, he sucks, and he brings this whole attitude and dumpster fire with him wherever he goes. So, boom, 100% on target with all of that.
I mean, I don't know. How many Jets games have you watched?
All of them almost. They've been on TV here.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the problem. Really.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I mean, okay, from a locker room
he's
standpoint,
had 2 good games all year, and one of them was Buffalo.
But I mean,
he had his best game of the year against Buffalo.
They won 7 games last year with Zach Wilson and didn't convert a third down in 5 games or something like that. Like,
and they're doing the same goddamn thing now. They had a better record with Zach Wilson than they do with Aaron Rodgers.
And then it's shocking.
I said that too. I was pissed last year that Aaron Rodgers got hurt because I knew they were just going to say, well, if we had Aaron Rodgers, you'd be in the same goddamn place. And now look they are. They're in the same place. Why? Because that team sucks, because Aaron Rodgers is a problem. Even if he was the elite MVP quarterback, it's his attitude. It's what he does to the whole organization, not just the offense or the front office or whatever. The entire organization gets ruined when you bring a guy like that in.
Right.
And they're suffering for it.
That's definitely the problem. And the owner seems to favor the quarterback who maybe has 1 year left in his career. Robert Saleh, say what you want, but I thought he had that team going in the right direction. I really
the
did.
Defense for sure, at least.
Yeah,
you can't argue that.
Look, you spend 15 years trying to get the quarterback right. You might as well say the hell with that strategy. Let's make the defense good, get decent quarterback play, and you'll win a few games, right? That's really, I thought that was a good for the Jets. Cleveland did the same thing, right? But just the same problem, right? They've had so many failed quarterbacks. You can't even look at the quarterbacks anymore. You have to look at the organization and say they're just not run well. It's been like that for 10 years for Cleveland and the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Like Deshaun Watson, sure, he's having a bad year. It's it sucks, right? They spent a lot of money. They're really hopeful he's the guy, but like no quarterbacks have succeeded in Cleveland. So it's really, like, why would you think he would? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even Aaron Rodgers, who's what, a 5-time MVP? He's won a lot of MVPs. He won't succeed in the Jets because they're just a bad run organization,
Exactly.
And it's all validated now when they're 2-6 this year because they have the roster. Anyway,
he's the problem, though. He is
Jets
the
just
problem.
Scored. But I thought the Jets getting all this bad media this week would motivate them to come back, and they still could win this game.
They
right?
could.
But they really came out bad, right? Dropping balls, arid passes, fumbling the ball before as you run into the end zone. Just,
Mm-hmm. What was it? The first 4 drives. I mean, it was like tonight we're talking about. This first 4 drives, it was 3 plays -8 yards, 4 plays 12 yards, punt, fumble 80 after the going, and then it's another punt. Now they just finally scored, but we're in the third quarter already because it's late here. But I mean, I still think the Texans pulled this off, and they were getting a point. So that's I was all over the Texans. I was all over the +1. And I believe I took the under for this game because of the injuries.
Actually, I'm going to pick the Jets in the upset. Barely. Texans aren't really playing.
Technically, they're the favorite, but yeah.
Right. But I feel like they've got so much bad press this week that you have to win, and that I feel like that's going to unite the locker room for at least 1 week. All right, let's move on. Let's get out of that conversation.
The Jets are who we thought they were. That's the bottom line.
Right. All right.
I did predict them losing to New England, by the way, last week. I was all over that. My picks are on Tally's site. You can see it.
Hey, Patriots. I mean,
they're legit. Yeah.
Say what you want about the Patriots, but they're
not a competitor.
Going to Foxborough, and it's not easy to win in Foxborough. All right. Patriots at Titans.
I'm taking the Patriots with the points here. I don't expect a lot of action. Definitely betting the under for this one, but the Tennessee Titans are, we know where they're at this point. They've traded away a bunch of guys, whereas the Patriots are, moving forward. They're at least saying,
Drake May
hey, we're playing. He probably won't play in this game, actually, because of the concussion protocol, but I still think New England finds a way to win, and they're getting points. So I love that.
Yeah,
you take the team with the points in a low-scoring game like this, or expect.
Tony Pollard questionable. So I like the Patriots in this one too, a close one. Say 28-21, something like that. All right, Saints at the Panthers. Saints are -7 going to Carolina.
Yeah, this is a really tough one because both of these teams are not doing well right now. Obviously, Saints playing the rookie quarterback. Panthers don't know who their quarterback is. I'm taking the Saints to win, but the -7 is right at the point where I don't want to touch it. So I'll take Carolina +7 because I think New Orleans wins by 3 or 4 points. So I'll take Carolina with the points and the Saints to win it.
Yeah, I agree. It's totally different Saints team now, right? That was a really quick turnaround. But yeah, Carolina's. I mean, they got tons of problems as well. But definitely take the points in this one to play safe. Broncos +8.5 at Baltimore.
This one blows my mind a bit. Denver's been playing very well, won a couple games that, maybe they looked better than people thought. Baltimore lost to Cleveland, another game that I predicted, by the way, last week. I think Denver could beat Baltimore on their if they play well enough, but 8.5. I mean, I'm taking Denver +8.5. I think Baltimore wins the game, but I'm taking Denver +8.5.
Man, Denver. Yeah, I think this is a blowout. Baltimore at home. Denver's got to travel across the country, but like outside of Patrick Surtain, who can you Broncos defense?
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like I just feel like Baltimore's absolutely stacked. I just feel like this is an uphill climb for the Broncos. I think Baltimore gets a win by 14. All right, Raiders +7 at the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm taking the Bengals -7. I really like this bet this week. The Bengals know what's on the line for them, and now they really have to get in gear. Hopefully, T. Higgins plays. I think that had a lot to do with their factored into their loss last week. I think they could have upset the Eagles, but anyway, here I love Bengals -7, even if Higgins is still out for a week. But Bengals to win. Bengals -7.
Yeah, Bengals 3-5. Division gets farther and farther away, and they still haven't won a game at home this year. So yeah, I'll take the Bengals as well. I just don't. There's nothing to like about the Raiders anymore with Devontae Adams gone. Quarterbacks have been struggling. I just don't see it.
No run game. Yeah, it's not good.
Chargers at Browns.
Yeah, this one probably closer than people might think coming into it. The Browns obviously coming off the big win against Baltimore. You just talked about Jameis Winston being the savior there all of a sudden. Look what he can do with this team. Fantasy-wise, it definitely elevates those receivers for the Browns. But give me the Chargers in this one. It's just that their style of play, run the ball, play defense, I think is enough to outlast in a matchup like this. I think Cleveland gets a little bit of theirs still. They're better at passing. They do have Nick Chubb back. So, yeah, I like the Chargers -1.5 and the Chargers to win, but I'll bet the over in this game.
Yeah, I like the Chargers as well. I just think, they're starting to get an identity there, right? And really like Jameis Winston magic. I mean, it's a tough one to bet because of that, but I think the Chargers are just a better team right now. All right, Dolphins, Bills. Dolphins +5.5 at the Bills.
Yeah, give me the
Feels a
Bills.
little low.
I feel like the Bills can win by a touchdown. I really like this one too. Again, I don't know if the Dolphins can stop them defensively. So
Right.
41-23, that's way more than 5.5. So Bills comfortably for me.
Yeah, and I just feel like Miami's going to make mistakes, right? The Bills are coming off their best game of the year. I feel like they're continuing to grow. Miami's just they're going to get a little desperate, I feel like, and that's when mistakes happen. So I'll take Buffalo 28-14. Cowboys +3 at Atlanta. Atlanta looking like the team you predicted, right?
Exactly, right? They finally coming in here. So give me Atlanta in this one. I really like the Falcons. Obviously, they're my NFC pick here. But the Dallas Cowboys have really looked terrible over the last few weeks. And they're getting some pieces back now from injury. But give me the Falcons. I trust their offense more than I trust Dallas's offense right now, which is saying something. And the defense is, I'd probably give Dallas the edge still a little bit, but that Falcons offense is too dynamic. And when it's only -3, I expect them to win by 3 or 4. So give me the Falcons -3 and the Falcons to win.
Yeah, I like the Falcons at home too, right? They look like a really balanced team that's going to be tough to beat. I just feel like Dallas doesn't have they're just missing pieces this year, right? Running back's a big question mark. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, who do you turn to? It just feels hard for them this year. So give me Atlanta. All right, Commanders at the New York Giants. Commanders -3.5 at the Giants.
Giants, man, I watched some of that Steelers Giants game on Monday night, and I was just laughing because the refs were all over the Giants for some reason. I couldn't explain it, but man, if the Giants sneezed wrong, they got it called. And some of them were, I mean, it was legit, but it was just like, man, they can't get away with anything. And their play has been lacking in a lot of ways. Obviously, Malik Neighbors looks good, but eh, Daniel Jones still struggling. Washington, on the other hand, hottest team in football, without a doubt. They come off of the most upsetting play of the year for me because I had a 6-way parlay and my pick six was 5-1. For the 3 weeks in a row, I've been 5-1 on the pick six. Washington was that loss last week. I had the Bears +2, and Washington got the Hail Mary at the end of the game. Killed my 6-way parlay. I would have had $1,000 on that, but disappointing. But point being, they find a way to win even when the game seems completely lost. They are unbelievably electric. Playing an inferior opponent, I just think they're going to beat up the Giants at home. So I really like this bet as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy in the Commanders, locker room, I feel like. And the Giants haven't won a game at home this year. They've lost 3 in a row now. I just think this is a mismatch, so I'll take the Commanders. Little surprised that this line's so low, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Bears at Cardinals. Bears are +1.5 at Arizona.
Yeah, this game's pretty much a pick 'em to me. I mean, I could go either way, but I think Arizona wins it, so I'm gonna pick Arizona -1.5. Yeah, Chicago hasn't shown enough to me offensively that even, against more inferior opponents. So I think Arizona just scores more than they can.
Yeah, on the road, I like Arizona too. Like Kyler Murray will make a few plays. They seem to be on the trending up. Bears do too, but I mean
they're leading the division, the Arizona Cardinals, at
right, it's
4-4.
wild. But I just feel like Caleb Williams still figuring out to get the game right. I think there'll be a couple mistakes that the Cardinals capitalize on. All right, Jaguars +7.5 at the Philadelphia Eagles.
I like the Eagles here a lot. I think, the Jags are dealing with so many injuries on offense. They just lost Christian Kirk. Now Brian Thomas, might miss a couple weeks. The Eagles finding their stride offensively, still have the weapons on defense. So I really like the Eagles -7.5 and, to win the game, obviously.
Yeah, I like the Eagles as well. Their roster's absolutely loaded. It's just so difficult to play them. And Jacksonville, just a team figuring it out. I just don't think they have the firepower to keep up with the Eagles. All right, Rams at Seahawks. Rams are -1.5 going to Seattle.
Yeah, this is a tough one. The Rams look really good now that they got their 2-star wide receivers back, don't they? And yeah, that obviously makes a huge difference. But I think Seattle is still a really good team, and DK probably plays this week. He really wanted to play versus Buffalo, but couldn't. And I think that is a bit of an X factor for them. So if DK plays, then I'm all over the Seahawks +1.5.
Yeah, I think it's a bounce back week for Seattle. Losing a game like that at home, you get a chance to redeem yourself at home. I like Seattle in this.
They've lost 3 straight at home. That's tough.
Yeah,
One being to the Giants. That's even worse.
Yeah, they got to get that figured out. That's a huge home field advantage there, right?
Mm-hmm. Unless
All
you're
right,
playing Buffalo, because Gino said it was like playing a road
Right,
game. The Bills
right.
fans.
It's also a nice
Bills Mafia
stadium, good
represented.
destination.
Yeah.
All right, Lions at Packers. Lions are -2.5 at the Green Bay Packers.
Give me the Lions here. I think, they're the hottest team in terms of their play right now, scoring, defense, even losing, Hutchinson for the year. They're still on fire, and this is a division rival. And Green Bay questions about, quarterback or, Love being injured or banged up. I still think if he plays, Detroit ends up winning this game. So I'm all over the Lions on that one.
I'm actually going to take the Packers at home. I just feel like we've talked about this in the offseason a little bit too. Like Jordan Love's a real quarterback, right? He can make a lot of great plays. And I feel like, if he could, get some of the turnovers down a little bit. I mean, he's a guy that has the arm talent to carry his team. I don't think there's a lot of that in the NFC, right? So I think this is a big game for them. It's a good test for the Packers, and I think Jordan Love will rise up and get this win. Colts at Vikings. Colts are plus 5.5 at the Vikings.
I really like the Colts here getting points. I think they made the unbelievable switch, right? We have to talk about that, from Anthony Richardson to who has been the obviously more efficient quarterback with this offense. I've said it for 3 weeks when he was in there. It's like, okay, say what you want about Flacco being 100 years old.
Right.
Dude is more efficient, right, with this offense, and they're winning. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that's going to be better for their offense and their production. And I like the way the energy of that team was going. Minnesota's the opposite, right? The last few weeks they've been downtrodden, not looking as good, not being as strong. So, yeah, I think that's why I like Indy with the points, but Minnesota probably, I like Indy to win this game, but, Minnesota should win, but I think Indy could pull it off.
Right. I don't know. What do you really gain from starting Joe Flacco? What are you going to make the wild card?
Exactly.
You
That's
going to
the
win
problem.
the division? Are you going to the Super Bowl? No.
100%. I'm not saying I agree with this decision.
Right.
It's clear why, because the team is better with him there.
Right. And I
But
understand where the coach is coming from. Like, you got to look at everyone on the team, throwing everything they have into the game, and you're not playing the best guy. But that's how you develop quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Like, you got to let them play. Yeah, it's going to be ugly. When you drafted Anthony Richardson in the top 5, you knew there would be games like this, like he had last week. I mean, the tap the helmet thing's a whole different thing, but going 4 for 30 or whatever it was really bad. But like, that's kind of what you expect when you draft a guy that raw that early. But you got to see it through, in my opinion. You got to ride the waves.
correct.
Because this
He
guy needs reps.
Exactly.
He needs reps. And this guy's so special. You know what I mean? As far as an athlete, he's incredibly special. And I feel like you're doing him a disservice by benching him. I don't know what you really gain by that. Because it feels like it's over, right? I mean, that's probably not the case, but I mean, I just feel like this is critical time for him to learn, and you're pushing that back. You know what I mean? It sets the organization back. Anyway, I like the Vikings at home. They'll make a few plays. I mean, they'll have a couple passing touchdowns, and I think that'll be hard for the Colts to overcome. All right, last one, Buccaneers at the Chiefs. Monday Night Football, Buccaneers plus 8.5 at Kansas City.
Yeah, this is a game where I think I'm just riding the points. 8.5, sure, I'll take the Bucs with 8.5. I think Kansas City wins the game, but that's a high point total for a team that can score, even though Kansas City's defense is obviously really good. So I'll take the Bucs with the 8.5, but give me Kansas City to win as usual.
Yeah, Kansas City remains undefeated. I agree. The Buccaneers just don't. They have too many injuries right now. This would be a competitive game if Mike Evans, Chris Godwin were in, but it's just not the case. So I'll take Kansas City. All right.
That wraps it up, maybe. Got to get ready now for the big game this weekend, Doing anything special for this one?
Sunday at 1, right? So I don't think nothing too special, right?
Yeah.
No, I have no plans really.
Feels good to be back in the normal.
Right. Sunday at 1's the best for sure. So anyway, thank you everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for kicking it with us. Go Bills.